Folks, welcome back to Nostalgianomics. Have you been investing in Pokemon and other TCGs and other collectibles all wrong all this time? We're going to find out today. I'm going to lay out all the different investing strategies you could take. We're going to look at the pros and cons of each. And then at the end, yes, I will give my very biased opinion on what I believe is the best strategy to take, both on a risk to reward ratio level and also a long-term growth perspective level. Now, I'm sure I'm going to say a lot of things you disagree with. Feel free to let me know in the comment section, but I'm just going to lay it out there and give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the goods and the bads. Now, this is the reason a lot of people in this hobby don't like me and why I have very little to no friends in this hobby. But that's a story for a different day. Let's jump into this video. First off, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about Pokemon singles, the raw singles, versus the slabs, whether it be PSA, CGC, Beckett, BGS, whatever you want to put them in, doesn't matter, or sealed product. Let's start out with singles. Singles are bar none the most versatile item in the Pokemon or any other TCG. And for that reason, they are the most liquid. And what do I mean by most versatile? Well, think about this. One, the players need them. The players need the cards for the games, so they're going to be buyers of them, right? The graders, the card graders need them. They need the mint singles to put in the plastic, whether it be for their own collection or to sell in the market as a profit, because you get a profit when you put it in plastic and it gets a high number, and because people want to pay more for it. Okay? You have the binder collectors who just want to complete binder sets of all the sets. Then you have the Pokemon, the character collectors. You have the artist collectors that want the singles. You have all these different groups that actually want the singles and all the different ways they can be used, which makes them the most versatile. They have the lowest price points in the hobbies. Did you know this? The majority of every Pokemon card printed ends up under $1. Stay with me. Think about it. You got the energies, the trainers, commons, uncommons, rares, holo rares. Heck, even most of the EX, GX, Vs, all that stuff end up under $1 eventually. Meaning it's basically an impulse buy. Anyone can afford it. You can just log on or you can see it in person and just buy the card because it's just that cheap. So that's why it has the largest customer base. I mean, even most of the cards in every set end up under $10. There's only a few chases in each set long term that actually stay above that. Especially, I mean, we might see some differences going into the alt art era and the Sword and Shield and some of the newer stuff, but on average, that's how it usually has been. All right. With that being said, there are some negatives to singles. One, they're unauthenticated. You have to be pretty, you'd be in the Pokemon hobby for a while, know what you're looking for, to know that you're getting a legitimate, authentic Pokemon card. Even some of the, top people in the hobby have been fooled before, especially with how good fakes are getting. So, one of the benefits of putting it in that plastic, right, is because it gets authenticated. So, it's one of the risks you take is you're dealing with unauthenticated items, and it's really just, your word and the buyer's word, or the seller's word and your word on if you both agree it's authentic. All right? Next up, agreeing on condition. This is a big one because I've sold PSA 10 cards to people where they come back to me and say, I don't believe this is a PSA 10. I don't agree with this grade. I want to send it back. Isn't that the whole point of getting a third party to authenticate it, is it gives it a grade so me and you don't have to argue about it? But even though those people are out there, so collectors are getting outrageous these days. Now, think about how magnified that is when it comes to singles, right? Because you could have 10 different people and they'll give that card all 10 different grades themselves. And they'll all think it's 10 different values. Not only that, it's extremely hard to agree on a value of that card. You'll say, well, Alex, if it's near mint, you go to TCG Player near mint, that's the value. Well, yeah, that's what a lot of people do, but in all reality, cards sell all over the place when it comes to every different category. Near mint, light played, moderate played, heavy played, and damaged. Because there can be a slew of different cards in that same category, right? You could have a near mint card on TCG Player sell for $10. You could have one on eBay that's got, obvious white nicks, obvious scratches, goes at auction for $5. Then you could have a perfect one, perfectly centered, nothing wrong with the card. It's got 10 pictures to prove it. That one might go for $15 or $20. So you have a huge range of where those cards sell based on the condition and what people are looking for. Same with damaged, right? You could have a damaged card that has a small, ding in it that people call it damaged, and the other card, it can be completely destroyed and crumpled up. And those cards can sell hugely different in prices but hey, they're both damaged. So that's the issue, is agreeing on a condition and then finding a agreed upon price point within that condition based on how the card looks. There's a lot of, things that go along with that based on the buyer and the seller. So you have to deal with that. The last thing is it's not that they're super risky, because a lot of them, like I said, have lower price points. Now, it can be risky for the higher level singles, but it's extremely speculative, right? When things blow up, Okay, when things like go to the moon, yes, you do see the top singles in the sets usually have higher spikes than what you see like a sealed product in that same set have. However, those are few and far between. You're really kind of trying to be a stock picker, like a card picker, trying to make those big brain plays before it happens. And it's very hard to do. A lot of times, really, it's getting lucky. And so most of the time, you aren't going to see as much growth in single cards as you're going to see in like a slab or in a sealed product. Last thing is, you'll never know the population. You'll never know how many singles are out there. It's a cool thing about like putting a grading company is you'll know how many of those cards are out there in a specific grade, so you can kind of chase the condition rarity side of things, but you're never going to know. Pokemon doesn't release the printing numbers. Not only that, you're never going to know how many of those packs are ever opened and how many of those singles are on the market or, not on the market waiting in people's collections to put on the market or inventory to put on the market, things like that. And then I did just think of one more thing when it comes to that. So not only the fact that, you have all those population of those cards out there, but there's always more singles coming to the market. Every single time a pack is ripped, more singles on the market. So every day you see all your favorite streamers on the Twitches and the whatnots and the drips and YouTube and everywhere else opening packs. Every time you open your packs, every time anyone at home with their kids open packs, every single time that happens, there are more of those singles on the market than there were before. So those are all the negatives of singles. Now, moving into slabs. Let's talk about slabs for a little bit. Benefits of slabs. And again, I'm not getting into the whole PSA, CGC, Beckett, all the other different grading companies in this video. Yes, my bias is towards PSA because they're the most trusted. On average, their cards hold the most value, and on average, their cards are the most liquid, or what most collectors are looking for. But that could change. Things are shifting. That's where I stand on grading, though. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about slabs in general. One, like I talked about, they authenticate it. They tell you got a real card. So again, great. Authenticators could be wrong from time to time, but on average they're not. And the majority of the whole market agrees with that, and they agree to say, hey, this is a legitimate card. I'm willing to transact it and agree that it's authentic. So you have that going for you. Yeah, they put it in plastic, it protects it, but let's be honest, you could put it in a top loader or semi-rigid and protect it yourself. So it protects it, makes sure no water, moisture, anything can get to it. Great. Another thing is, though, it does assign that grade to it, right? You do get that grade. Now, the way people are becoming now, they're really enamored by condition, so they might not agree with that third-party grade, but the majority of the market still does. And so when you transact that grade, there's a very real price point on the market on what they're selling for, what they're last sold for, what they're listed for, and a good range of a market price on each grade of that card for the most part. Unless it's like a very rare, scarce card that barely ever comes up and, comes up for auction or comes up for buy it now, it can swing all over the place based on who's looking for it at that time and who buys it. But on average, especially with, widely available cards, you have a market price on the slab. Third thing is, it does have a population, right? You know how many of each grade of that card is out there, right? There's 300 10s and there's 1,000 9s, right? You know that. And so you don't know how many cards are out there, right? But you do know exactly how many of that grade are out there. So, it takes less, right? It takes less people wanting it in the future for that card to rise in value or for it to hold its value than it would for, singles where you just never know. Now, getting into the negative side of slabs. I'm going to be here a while, right? Negative side of slabs. One, and this is for singles as well, I didn't mention, the population's always going up. Even first edition base set has more population every day. Every single day, as more cards are found or come to market or are opened out of packs, they're always going to be rising populations as they get graded. So there's always going to be more every single day. And what that means is, you need more interest and more demand every single day just to maintain the price of those singles and slabs, right? Just to maintain. Then you need a more surge of demand and popularity to then rise the prices in the future. Because if the demand and popularity stays the same and the supply continues to go up, that means the price point is usually going to drop. So that's a negative, all right? Another thing is, your customer base is a whole lot smaller, right? A customer base for a slab is going to be a lot smaller than a single card because, yeah, they're still card collectors, but a lot of people want them in their binder. A lot of people want to play with them. A lot of people just don't want them in a plastic slab. They don't want to pay that premium because, yes, there is a premium to pay in that plastic most of the time. I know we see auctions end lower. I know nowadays like an 8 and a 9 can be less than like a near mint copy. I get that. But on average, it's going to cost more to buy the card in a slab than to buy it raw. So that's an issue. like I said, it's going to have that higher price point. So you are going to alienate a good portion of buyers because look, not everyone in this hobby is rich. Not everyone can afford to pay, exponentially more for a slab, whatever grade it's in. So a lot of people will just buy the singles. So you are shortening your buyer pool with those slabs. Not only that, history has shown us a lot of slabs do not perform as well as a lot of the sealed product out there. We see large spikes from time to time. We do see upticks from time to time. But again, it's very limited, right? Except the big boom with the 2020 pandemic free money thing. That's a different story. But usually spikes are very limited to certain cards in the sets, right? And so you have to be very good at picking which card is which. You got to kind of be a stock picker. You got to kind of be a big brain mover and kind of get an idea of what's going to be the ones to move, because if you get it wrong, a lot of times you're seeing stagnates and no growth, even declining growth on a lot of those. Whereas if you get it right, yeah, you can hit home runs, you can see exponential returns, you can beat the sealed product of that same set it's in. But again, it's few and far between, and so those are kind of the issues with slabs. Now, getting into sealed product, talk about the pros of sealed product. There's always less of it. Every single day there's less of it. Pokemon does a reprint, there's more for a short period of time, but then there's less of it until eternity. What do I mean by that? It gets opened, right? That's what we do. We open cards. I mean, look at how many boxes get ripped every single day by all the streamers on Twitch, all the streamers on Whatnot, all the streamers on Drip, all the streamers on YouTube, all the regular people and all the local card shops that rip product in bulk just to sell the singles, all the different people out there and kids and parents and just regular collectors that rip packs and rip boxes daily, right? There is less supply of sealed product every single day, and all that does is add to the supply of singles and then eventually into slabs. So that's one of the huge benefits of sealed product. Now, sealed product has the same. I'll get into that in the cons. But another thing about sealed product is it's very accessible. I didn't mention that with the slabs, but a lot of slabs can be inaccessible. One, obviously the price point can be too much for slabs, right? But also, you might just not be able to find them on the market, or one might be on the market, or a few might be on the market, but they might be way high price points, buy it now, so you gotta wait for an auction, or some slabs aren't even on the market in certain grades, so you gotta wait for a buyer and search all around and try to find it. Sealed product doesn't have that issue, right? Sealed product, especially with modern, now when you get into older stuff, right, and you get into as stuff ages and becomes higher value, yeah, then you have the same problems you can have with slabs of finding it in mint condition, being on the market at a reasonable price, things like that. But especially with modern stuff out of the gate, or any time in the last 1, 2, 3 years or so, you can find it anywhere. It's everywhere. Anyone can do it, which is the whole purpose of my channel, why I started it. It's been the whole message this whole time. Anyone can do it, right? You can go to any LGS out there. You can go on any website, any LGS website, eBay, TCG Player, and you can buy the sealed product, right? It's everywhere for anyone to buy when it's released, right? Not only that, it's a very agreed upon market price. You can look around, you can shop around. Everyone's got it for around the same price. Some are lower, some are higher, some run deals, but it's very easy to find it at the agreed upon market price. And so it's very easy to pick up in mint condition, right at release. Not only that, it has the least risk. And why do I say that? Well, you could argue that, a 1 cent single has the least risk because it can't go any lower, can't go to half a cent. But in terms of on the same investment level, it's got the least risk because what we've seen the whole time I've been in the hobby, right, for the past 8 going on 9 years, I've never seen a modern booster box go under $70 on the open market. I know there's private sales that have happened. I know there's crazy flash sales or deals that might have dropped some under it for a second, obviously with TikTok coupons, but full market price, there's never been modern booster boxes drop under $70. So when you can find boxes in the 70s, in the 80s, you have a built-in downside risk that's so small, but the upside potential is so great because, ready for this? There's 100% track record of modern booster box, of any booster box, rising in value over time. As time goes on, none have ever not rise. None. Zero. They've all risen in value over time. So you have a built-in limited downside risk, and you have 100% upside potential of every single box in history ever rising. Now you could say, well, that's eventually going to end, or eventually boxes will start to drop under that. That's speculation. I'm just telling you, looking at history, what has happened and what continues to happen. So when you can get in the 70s and the 80s and the $90 a booster box, you have built-in risk to reward ratio there. And, like I said, the upside potential can be great. We got Evolving Skies, only a couple of years old, going for $400+. So that's kind of the upside potential, right? You have, 300% upside on some of those boxes. And this is just the beginning. And then the other, I would say best benefit of sealed product is it's pretty much in everyone's price point, right? You can argue this for some singles and some slabs, but obviously some of the singles, some of the slabs get a lot higher and become out of most people's price point. These boxes, like I said, they come out, they're $80, $90, $100. The set's released every 3 months. Now the specialty sets, they're released in between those, but a booster box set's every 3 months. All you gotta really budget is about 30, 40 bucks a month, about 30 bucks a month these days, to be able to afford one booster box of every set. It's anyone who's got money, disposable income to put into Pokemon. I would argue that most everyone out there watching this and everyone out there who buys Pokemon stuff can afford $30 a month on this stuff. So it's pretty much available for everyone. Everyone can find it and everyone can do it. So that's why I love sealed product. Now let's look at the cons, right? Let's look at the cons of sealed product. One of the cons is you need the demand to be there to actually want to open the product and want to rip the packs for the attrition, right? For all the product to eventually disappear from the market in enough amount to where there's not enough left so the prices rise in value. That can become an issue. We're seeing it with like Scarlet Violet Base and some of these sets right now where too much product has been introduced to the market too quickly. It's not enough of it's getting open, not enough of it's getting collected, and so the price points are staying lower. Now, we've seen this happen in the past. It's always worked itself out. So in my opinion, I think it's just taking a little longer, but that is a very real issue, is not enough attrition from the market of the sealed product. Another issue with sealed product, again, it's got a smaller customer base. It's like slabs, right? It's definitely a smaller customer base than singles. I don't know how it compares to slabs as far as customer base, especially these days. Maybe there's enough sealed collectors out there that match the slab collectors. Who knows, right? We can argue with that, but it's definitely less than singles, 100% less. And so, yeah, you are dealing with a lower customer base. As the prices rise in value, right, as they do become in the $200, $300, $400, $500, $1,000 range, yes, your buyer pool definitely shrinks even more. And so it can be harder to find buyers in the future. But, with inflation, with people's incomes rising, it can, make it easier as time goes on to be able to afford products in there. And once you get into the thousands, that's where the buyer pool really falls off. And so, you can do different things with getting out of certain positions when they start to get that high or whatever you want to do. But that is definitely a negative factor of sealed product. Another negative, very small negative, people say it takes up a lot of space. I think that can be a positive because it looks good to display, but if you get large amounts of it, I guess you do need some storage space, you need some shelving, you need some space in your house or apartments. I think that really goes for if you really get into large amounts of sealed, like I'm talking like 6-figure positions, because anything under that, you could pretty much fit it in a hallway closet, especially if you're investing in booster boxes. It can be a negative of storing. I want to be fair here. I want to give all the negatives. And, the other negative can be, when you go to sell it, it's a little harder to ship. But as far as liquidity goes, sealed product has, pretty much peak liquidity. Any single one of these boxes I could list right now at auction, and it's going to go within 5-10% of the market price. And so there's always usually enough buyers out there that always want the product, but that can be an issue is liquidity in the future, or just like obviously the cost to go into shipping it, or things like that. But other than that, guys, I think you can pretty much tell where my bias lies. I'm definitely still pro sealed product. It's what I founded this channel on. That's what I've preached on this whole time on this channel. That's what I fought for even before I had a channel. And that's still what I believe in today. Even though, I'm doing this full time, even though I'm running a business and I do still like, slabs, I do still collect slabs, I do still collect, singles. I am still very partial with sealed product. I think it does have the most amount of upside potential. I like the fact that everyone can do it. It's available to everyone. It's not like these real niche things where only the select few can afford it, or only select few can find it, and it's hard to find the things. I like the fact that the entry point is pretty much within everyone's budget. And I like the liquidity of it. I like how, we've established basically a floor on these things within around the $70, $80 mark in the past 8 years. So I like how it's a limited downside risk. We've seen XY, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield. We've seen the rises in price, so the upside potential can be endless. We're talking thousands of % on these things. And so all in all, yes, I still very much believe in sealed product. I still very much invest in it. And that is still my pick going forward. But again, everyone's goals are different, right? Some people want to, collect, right? And they're not worried about the value. Some people are a hybrid. They want to collect, but they also want their collection to hold value or maybe rise a little bit. And they're not 100% worried about the finances, but they are a little bit. They don't want their stuff to go to zero. So, you might want to, maybe have a combination of all of those, or you might, maybe you can collect singles and slabs, and certain ones will hold value and they'll see growth. Or you have the people that are purely financial driven, and they're saying, hey, Alex, I'm here to know where the best place to put my money, where, I want to beat other traditional investments, and I want something that, has the least downside risk and most upside potential and has the most, best track record to do well in the future. I'm always going to tell you it's sealed product. That's just my opinion on it. So that's what I got today. As always, like I said, let me know in the comments if you love it, you hate it, you agree with me, you disagree with me. Some of the things I said you think are just way off. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thanks for checking out the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not yet. And I'll be back here in a new one soon for you guys. I'm out.